This is the ninth episode of the character series from the Pages podcast. Previously on the Pages podcast. What does it mean in your head when you hear the phrase main character energy?
It's kind of like you are driving in the car, right? And then you're listening to this like Coldplay.
Okay.
And then like and then the breeze is just on your face and you just like put your hand out the window and nobody stops you and you're just like reaching for the sun. That's what I think main character energy is. Yeah.
There was this trend that was kind of coming up on TikTok at that time during the COVID. It was called the main character energy. In 2025, I can attest to the fact that trend did not age well. Like if I went outside flipping my hair, wind blow or something, I'm just trying to feel like I'm the main character. People would just be looking and be like, what the heck is going on with this person?
Yeah, that's so good. Ew. Yeah.
We will consider character categories and classifications based on four major systems. We'll focus on the first one, character classification based on hierarchy, and there are 5 main levels of character hierarchy system. And at the top we've got the main character, next main supporting character, then side supporting character, and the 4th level tertiary character, and then background characters or your extras. When you think about it though, we can only view our individual lives from our own perspective. In that world, we are the centerpiece that's ever present, because if we die, that particular life story has reached its end. Yeah, for this reason, we are the main character in our own life story. But as Timothy Kurek rightly stated this quote, you are the main character in the story of your life, but other people are the main characters of their own lives. And sometimes you can find healing by playing a supporting role in someone else's experience.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So last episode, we opened the vault on the final chapter of our series, Characterization in Storytelling. We mapped out the 4 pillars of character categorization. We have by hierarchy, by level of development, by their role, and by archetype. Starting with characterization by hierarchy, we consider deeply the main character who demand our gaze and drive the engine of the plot. They are the central figure that can take any role, but they must be at the beginning of the event, in the midst of the conflict, and at the final resolution of a story. Such is the weight of a main character. We are all familiar with the gravity of a lead character exerts. You might remember the banter Rita and I had about the 2020 TikTok main character energy trend. That was actually quite fun. In the real world, too much focus on self breeds narcissism. In storytelling, it breeds flatness. When a writer obsesses solely on the pinnacle, the rest of the world becomes a blur of background splurges, cardboard cutouts existing only to make the lead look important. Left unchecked, a lovable protagonist can quickly pivot from relatable and adorable to delusional and exhausting. So, what happens when we look away from the spotlight? In this episode, we're climbing down the ladder. We're shifting our lens from the main character to the rest of the cast, that is, the supporting, the tertiary, and the background characters. We will see how a nameless figure in the crowd can suddenly become a pivot point for history, like the unidentified spectator in One Piece, whose single question ignited the great pirate era. If you're a One Piece fan, you're going to love this particular episode. Or, in a less dramatic tone, consider the jogging Babylon in BoJack Horseman. What began as a recurring background detail, a silent figure pacing the hills of Beverly Hills in Hollywood, remember Hollywood, transformed into the voice of the show's most profound philosophy on discipline and persistence. It gets better. You remember that? It gets better. In those moments, background characters don't just populate a scene, they can steal it. It turns out, even the most fleeting characters can radiate main character energy when the writing is sharp enough to let them breathe. So, join Rita and me as we descend the rungs of the character hierarchy as we consider today's episode, the indispensable others. welcome back. So we're going to go into the second half of character hierarchies. Let's talk about supporting characters. And supporting characters are divided into two. We've got your main supporting characters, which make part of the primary characters, and then your side supporting characters, which are your secondary characters. So, question for you, Rita. Have you ever been to a concert before, Rita?
I am so glad that this question is happening today and not like 3 days ago. Because yes, I have been to a concert and it was fun. Yeah.
All right. So, when you went to the concert, who did you think the main character of that concert was? And who do you think is the supporting character and why?
Okay. So the main character is definitely the artist, right? The artist and their
Mm-hmm.
band. And then we who are witnessing the artist's greatness are the supporting characters. Why? Because the main characters are on a pedestal, like they are on a stage, they
Mm,
are performing, and then us we are here, we are witnessing their performance. That's literally what main characters and like side characters do. The main characters do, and the side characters just watch them do it, and I don't know, support them. I guess.
mm.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry to bust your bubble. Well, you guys in the
No.
audience, you guys are not even you're not you're just like background characters.
Oh my god. We are not detailed at all. We are just
you
like
were
there.
you were literally just like a flashlight in the video. You know when they
Oh
do like a
my
video of the
god.
concert, you guys are shown as like
No.
flashlights of like your phone flashlight. That's how you guys are represented. You
I'm
were
not even drawn. Like we're not even like detailed. Nothing, nothing. We're just like a smear
baby
of paint
girl.
and those dots.
You guys are just black with dots of lights.
Ah, oh my god. I hate being a background character.
Well,
Ah.
that is the fact of the story. The artist is the main character. The bands that are there supporting them, they are the main supporting characters. The people on the back screen, like a production screen, security, and they are like the maybe side characters. Then if there's anybody in the audience that maybe the artist or anybody in the main character or the main supporting character knows, maybe that person is like a tertiary character. But the rest of you with no
Wow.
name, with no face that the artist and none of the main characters know.
No name, no face, no detail. That they copy and paste us. They copy and paste us in the background. Oh my god.
I
It's fine.
I exaggerate this you guys, but you'll soon find out why you guys will be like at
Oh,
best background character.
okay, cool,
Maybe
cool.
tertiary characters are best, you know.
Okay, okay, cool, cool.
So the term supporting character doesn't necessarily mean that these characters actually support the main characters in the story. It just means that they help support the main character's story, and there's a difference. You can have a tertiary level or even a background character who actually supports a character in a story, like I was just saying, like a crowd. If you have you watched the Gladiators, Rita?
Yeah, I have. Think, I think so. Or maybe I just heard the gist. But yeah, I think I have watched it. You know, I've heard the gist.
You're at least aware of the story. So, anyways,
Yes.
there's like this gladiator. His name is Maximums Teximums Meridos. Ugh, quite a long name.
What?
Anyway,
Is that a mathematical equation? What the fuck is
Maximus Deximus Meridos. Anyways, this guy is like the champion gladiator, right? And in this story, you've got the crowd cheering for him in the film Gladiator, right? When you think about it, these characters that are cheering, supporting him, just because they are supporting him does not make those people in the crowd supporting characters in his story. They are not supporting characters in the story. They're still background characters, even though they support him. So, if this was a real life situation, like I was saying, the people in the crowd they might actually not know it. They are not actually aware of it, but they're just background characters to the champions in the arena. Same way, every fan who goes to a concert is a background character to the artist stage, right? So though we are main characters in our own story, like if the story is shown from your own point of view that you went to the show, right? That artist is going to be like a tertiary character in your own story because the artist's concept you're going for is not a nameless person that nobody knows. You probably know their name. You probably know
Mm.
The artist can even be up to can like depending on how much you like this artist might actually even be like a side supporting character for you because
Mm.
if you're always watching this artist, following up in their like tweets, like you know everything about them. So you've given this artist so much context that they're not even tertiary characters anymore. They'll be tertiary characters if all you knew about them was just their name and maybe their songs. But if you knew more than their names, like you knew whether how many kids they have, when they got married, or you know so much details about this artist, you have elevated them from like tertiary level to like a side character level, you know? But you, to that artist, they don't know your name. They don't know you. You'll be lucky if they know your name.
You have hurt me. You have hurt me. Oh my god, as a fangirl, I am hurt. Oh, what do you mean?
Like if you went for a fan signing and they were like, "Oh, what's your name?" and you tell them the name, they probably will forget you as the next person is coming. So it's
Oh my god.
unless of course by some miracle you and this celebrity are supposed to have kind of like life together. I don't know, just maybe become friends or something. And maybe from that interaction, I don't know, whatever reason, you just end up being friends with this artist. Of course, then that's different. That's like rare. That
Mm.
rarely ever. That's like K-drama level kind of nonsense, you know.
This is drama level kind of nonsense. Real, real.
So in the end, you can see what I'm getting. So the artist, it's not a background character for you, but you are a background character for them or a tertiary character for them because like you give your name, but they forget you almost immediately because there's like so many more of you that they have to attend to. You're not the only one. So
I'm screaming. I am so happy and grateful to be a background character in Chinese
be proud.
life. Yeah,
Be
I'm
proud of
proud
it.
as a child to be a background character in Chinese life. Like,
Great.
yeah.
As long as you're proud of it, that's most important. So, when we say supporting characters, we're referring to those who make up an integral part of the main character's living identity. Guys, get this very well. Supporting characters in general, these are not people who actually support the main character. They are just people who make up an integral part of the main character's living identity. People who the characters are so familiar with that the only person they know more than them is themselves. So basically speaking, if you're a person, your supporting characters in your life are people that you know so well, the only person you know more than them is yourself. The level to which they are ever occurring in your life and relevant to your story, to the identity of the main character, really further determines whether they are main supporting character or side supporting character. So all supporting characters are relevant to a main character's story, but how often do they appear in this character's story? That's what determines whether they are now like main supporting or they are side supporting characters. A main or side supporting character level is a level that can change as a story progresses. Think about your own life. Let's examine a human life, for example, to illustrate this point. The main supporting character for a baby can be his parents or immediate family or just anyone that's active in their upkeep and daily care, right? That this is probably why some kids know their nannies more than their own parents who are present but just not very active in their lives. Like if you have parents who are never around, then your nannies, if you have nannies, will probably be like main supporting characters for you than your own actual parents, right? So once that baby becomes more independent and starts interacting with the rest of the world, maybe they will have close friends or best friends with whom they talk to almost every day, or an arch nemesis or a rival with whom they are forced to interact with frequently. These people will climb up the ladder of hierarchy in the child's life, and the impact that they have in the child's story further pushes them up the ladder. For example, a rival who forces you to improve your craft, overcome your setbacks, can quickly become a main supporting character in your life. It doesn't mean that this person actually supports you, it's just that their actions support your story. Maybe one day they will lose relevance, but in that particular moment, they are almost on par with, if not on the same level as your immediate family. So get this. Even your own family can become a side supporting character or even tertiary character at some point in your story. Personally, I have found that most people stay active in their siblings' life than their own parents' life. Some people have friends that are closer than family. So this rearranges the level of hierarchy that friends and family can occupy in your life. So one moment your parents may be like main supporting character for you, later they drop to side supporting characters. Maybe one day they drop to like tertiary characters. Your parents can never be background character because you always know them. You like always, even if they die, they will never be background character because these are people that you actually like. If they are actively present or they were actively present in your life, they can never be background character. They will always be, in worst case scenario, side supporting character. But if you don't know your parents, maybe you don't have a relationship with them and you just like maybe know their name and you've seen them once or twice before, they'll be like tertiary characters. But they can never be background characters because of that kind of filial parental relationship. So I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm getting somewhere.
Yeah, I'm
Do you want to add something?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I it's interesting that this side supporting, tertiary supporting characters is not like a
Mm.
fixed thing, right?
No, yeah, exactly.
You can either graduate or you can go up and down depending on the moment in your life and depending on the way that is happening in your life at
Yeah,
that moment. That's
yeah.
interesting. That's it. Oh my god, I don't have to be a background character forever. Ah, you guys.
No, no, no. I mean, you are definitely not you are your own main character, right?
Yeah,
Other people are
exactly.
the ones that have to worry about being background characters in your life, but you are like main character for yourself. Let's consider Bojack, for example. Across his entire character arc, he had various characters come and go into his life, all of which either lost relevance with time or gained relevance. Let's think, for example, as a kid, his parents, Beatrice Sugarman and Butterscotch Horseman, were like the main supporting characters in the story. He had a side supporting character who was his childhood hero called Secretariat. When Bojack makes it to Hollywood, formerly called Hollywood, his parents take a backseat, and his father especially would have just dropped to the level of like a tertiary character. In fact, but then again, I don't know if his father could ever be a tertiary character because he knew his father. So maybe his father would have been like a side supporting character. Because when you consider the way they portray Bojack's dad, the show doesn't give us much evidence that Bojack had much of a relationship with his father in his adult years. However, his mother would have become a side supporting character, even if she was not a main one, because distance and strife helped increase the gap between them. At the same time, he got a best friend called Herb Gazaz, whom we can say for a fact became a main supporting character in his life, both actually supporting him and also supporting his story. On the set of Horsing Around, he got to interact frequently on a nearly daily basis with his co stars. While they may not have been main supporting characters in his life, they were at least side supporting characters because he was frequently interacting with them. Sarah Lynn is probably the only character from the co-star days who kind of stayed as a supporting character in his life for a long time up until her death. Then there is like post horsing around arc during his celebrity slump days, right? Somewhere around this time he met Mr. Peanut Butter, a fellow Hollywood celebrity and self-appointed rival of Bojack. Probably at the time that their first interaction, Mr. Peanut Butter would have been like a tertiary character in his life because Bojack is like somebody who doesn't pay attention to people. But with his consistent efforts to befriend Bojack because he can't accept the idea of there being somebody out there who doesn't like him, he eventually becomes like a side supporting character in Bojack's life and eventually a main supporting character in the present period that the show tells Bojack's story. Then there's Diane. And amazingly, the time Bojack actually met Diane for the first time was when she introduced herself to him at a house party that he was hosting, right? That first time that we actually see her interact with Bojack for the first time in the show was not actually the first time that they were meeting for the first time. Because classic Bojack, the first time when they met, he was so out of it, he would think was very high that he didn't even pay attention to her. Like Diane barely registered as a background character to him. Several years have passed since, and now they're meeting officially. And Diane was a very monumental character for Bojack during the current years of Bojack's story and where the story actually picked up from. She was probably like his biggest main supporting character, but let's scratch that because I just remembered Princess Caroline. What can I say about Princess Caroline? She's phenomenal. She's a phenomenally written character. And she probably had the best character arc. And probably only one with a classic happily ever after ending. Her character arc was so dynamic, both internally and externally, both flat and a little bit dynamic. And she had a very positive, consequential transformation. She was Bojack's life jacket and anchor for a major part of the story. In fact, she was like that to almost every character in the story. She was like that character that was playing a literal supporting character for every other character in the story, while ignoring the significance of her own main character role in her own story. As much of a great support that she was to Bojack, she was also sadly an enabler of Bojack's ways. By constantly cleaning after him and offering her body and time for his use, she was suffering in this toxicity. She was that character that was playing a literal supporting character for every other character's story while ignoring the significance of her own main character role in her own story. She had dreams of being the one to help Bojack be the best version of himself, the kind of person that she believed he could be, and she actually never stopped believing, but that simply wasn't her role. Towards the end of the story, she slowly but graciously climbed down the hierarchy of character relevance in Bojack's story as she climbed up the ladder of her own story to be the main character that she was always meant to be because she always gave main character energy, honestly speaking. She was just investing it in the wrong plot. Here's a quote that I came up with, you guys, for all of you listening. Get this. Sometimes losing relevance in someone's story means gaining significance in yours. Unfortunately, there are just people like that where both things can't coincide. You must make a choice.
And choose yourself, people. Choose yourself.
It would be good to choose yourself. It will be good. That's the human thing to do. Finally, this Todd, another main supporting character in Bojack's story in the show. He started off as the confused young adult at age 18 who Bojack let move into his mansion, probably in an effort to compensate for the guilt he felt having betrayed his own best friend. So, sharing a living space or home with someone, even if you don't get along with that person, it actually puts that person in the orbit of supporting character in your life, depending on your relationship with them. They can easily become a main supporting character in your world or maybe stay as a side supporting character. But if you are sharing space, home space with somebody, you have to see this person almost every day, then you've got like a supporting character in your orbits in that period of your life. So when you think about it, not every time you have a roommate that you end up being friends with that roommate. But just the fact that you guys are roommates, it's enough for that person to be a supporting character in your life. And then depending on how your relationship grows, the person can become a main supporting character or maybe just stay as a side supporting character. We'll see. So this is very true for Todd because from housemates, he became buddies and became best friends, according to Todd. And Bojack became, originally against his wish, very close to Todd. So, like Princess Caroline, Todd was also one of those characters who always chose to believe the best in his friends, and that included Bojack, until, of course, Bojack gave him one too many reasons not to. Despite everything, though, even with the rupture in their relationship thanks to Bojack, Todd was one of those few characters who stuck with Bojack till the very end, and it seemed like he would have kept on supporting him in his own way. Now we have Mr. Peanut Butter. Mr. Peanut Butter, Diane, Princess Caroline, and Todd, they were the main supporting characters in BoJack Horseman's story. And it was clear because of how deeply the story dives into their own story, creating sequences from B-side to C-side stories that ran in tandem to BoJack's A-side main story. In fact, there are a few episodes in the series that are usually dedicated to one of these characters, where they are portrayed as the main characters, and even Bojack will play a side character role in their stories, or sometimes not appear at all. The way the show handles the side main characters, each of them could easily have their own spin off show that tells the story of Bojack from their own point of view, where they are the main character and Bojack can maybe be portrayed as a protagonist or maybe take a side character role in their stories. That's one thing about main supporting characters. Though their involvement in the stories happen in the context of the main characters, they sometimes feel like the main character themselves. And even without the main character being present, it seems like their character can continue to drive the plot. That's just how important main supporting characters can get. So, Rita, do you want to add anything?
I have a question.
Yes, tell me. Mhm.
Um, what is the difference between main character and protagonist? They sound like same person to me.
The protagonist is not on the classification of characters based on hierarchy. The protagonist is on classification of characters based on role. So the protagonist is a role, just like the antagonist, the deuteragonist. That's a whole topic that we'll talk about. So now we're talking about character classification based on hierarchy.
Oh,
And that's why we're talking about main
mm,
character, main supporting character, side supporting character, tertiary character, background character. But your main character can also
okay.
be your protagonist, and your main supporting character can also be a protagonist.
Mm, okay.
That's a role as opposed to it being like an order of hierarchy of importance.
Okay. Now I get it. No more questions. Yeah.
Right.
Carry on.
Thanks for asking. Like, 'cause maybe somebody out there is kind of confused about this. So here you go. Hey Pages, here's a quick one. I'm jumping in to remind everyone, especially if you're new here, that our full, unfiltered versions of our episodes are available on our website and exclusive to our subscribers. If you'd like the personal beats or just portions that are too wild for the main feed, that's where they live on our website. Subscribing there is also one of the best ways to help us keep the show going and stay updated on the new stuff we've got coming. Go check it out, leave us a review, and let us know what you think. All right, let's get back to the episode. Side supporting characters. Your side supporting characters are just like the main characters, but with like less active role in the overall story. Like in Harry Potter, characters like Dumbledore, Draco Malfoy, Sirius Black will fit this level. While they are not constantly around the main character, who is Harry Potter, they play important roles regardless, and they add to the depths of the overall story cast. For example, Sarah Lynn, Hollyhock, Bojack's mom, Beatrice Horseman, Bojack's dad, Butterscotch Horseman, and the rest of his family members, Herb Gazaz, and many other characters. They are all side supporting characters in Bojack's story with various degrees of appearances. Charlotte Carson and her daughter Penny are also unforgettable side characters with major implication for Bojack. We have other honorary mentions like Kelsey Jennings, Gina, Pinky Penguin, Secretariat, Wanda the Owl, who was like a serious love interest for Bojack. There's also Anaspanatic. I don't even know. I keep missing this one's card name. Anaspanapictica. How do you pronounce this one? Yeah. So there's so many side characters to mention that we're directly connected to Bojack. Oh, and let's not forget character actress Margot Martingale. So side supporting characters, they are usually characters that are constantly reappearing characters, and they're always constantly in contact with the main supporting characters and also the main character. But they just have lesser interaction overall with the main character himself. So their screen time is usually limited. In BoJack Horseman, Mr. Peanut Butter's ex-girlfriend turned ex-fiancé, Pickles is an example of such a character. Now, while Pickles doesn't have any direct interaction with BoJack himself, she is having a lot of interaction with Mr. Peanut Butter at some point. So that makes her a side supporting character. The thing about side supporting characters, they are like main supporting characters for the main supporting characters. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to paint, Rita. So you've got your main character, right? And your main character has main supporting characters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then you've got side supporting characters. And these side supporting characters, they are like main supporting characters for the main supporting characters of the main character. I don't know if this makes sense
Okay.
or
I
some.
mean that makes sense though. So what I'm hearing is that as long as a character has a name and a purpose and then they are related to the main character, they're kind of like a supporting character.
Exactly. Or also, let's put it like this. So, like, you are a main character, for example, right? Rita, you're a
Mm-hmm.
main character. And you've got, let's say, your family, your mom, your sisters, or your brothers. Let's just use your sister, for example. Your sister, if you're very close to her and you talk to her
Mm-hmm.
almost every day, she's a main supporting character for you.
Okay.
But your
Okay.
own sister, she has friends. And some of these friends you probably don't know. Maybe you've met them once in a while, but maybe you see them once in a while, right? And you've interacted with them every once in a while or something.
Yep.
Those friends for your sister, they're like main supporting character for your sister. If she's like really close to them and talks to them every day and interacts with them every day, they're like main supporting character for her, just like she's main supporting character for you.
For me, yeah.
But those friends are not main supporting characters for you.
For you. Yeah, because I don't know them that well.
Yeah, so they're side characters for you. But because you see
Nice.
them every now and
Mm,
then around your sister, they're like side
nice.
supporting characters for you, because they are
Nice.
main supporting characters for your sister, who is a main supporting character for you. That's kind of
Mm,
what I'm getting at.
I understand it clearly.
Okay, so my point is that side supporting characters don't always have to have a direct relationship with the main character. They don't even have to interact with the main character at all. That's my point. They could interact with the main character. They can have relationship with it, but I'm just saying that not all of them have to have that relationship. Some of them don't even have to ever talk to you. But the fact that you see them, maybe you know them, you know about them through somebody who is actually really close to you. And maybe your sister talks about them to you every now and then. You just never met them or had relationship with them. So that kind of puts them in like a side supporting character for you. I don't know if that makes sense.
I understand.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I understand that. Simple.
Exactly. So we will use more examples from BoJack Horseman to illustrate the point further. So side supporting characters are usually characters that are constantly in contact with main supporting characters, but they would generally have lesser interactions with the main characters. So their screen time is often limited. In BoJack Horseman, Mr. Peanut Butter ex-girlfriend turned ex-fiance Pickles is an example of such a character. Diane's boyfriend Guy turned fiance in the season finale turned husband is another example. Todd's asexual girlfriend, Maud, or his high school best friend, Emily, would be another example of side supporting characters. But they would be like main supporting characters for Todd, but side supporting character for Bojack. For Princess Caroline, there's like Rita Baga, Bitowitz. Kind of, I don't know its
These
names that they give.
names, these names. Oh my god.
This character was actually a former business partner and somebody that Princess Caroline actually had a fling with. And there is also Ralph Stilton, an ex-fiance for Princess Caroline. And then it is finally Judah, who actually ended up marrying Princess Caroline. All these people, they are side supporting characters for Bojack, but main supporting characters for Princess Caroline. I want to actually mention her baby, the baby she had that she adopted, Ruthie, but then again, she never really gave that baby a name. She called it Untitled Princess Caroline Project for a while. So let's just, I wanted to mention the baby, but then the baby is
Oh my
probably
god.
like a tertiary character because it's like,
BoJack Horseman is a fever dream because what was that? Oh my
I
god.
think that was Todd. I think Todd named her baby Untitled Princess Caroline Project because he kept telling her to name the baby and she didn't have time to name the baby. So he just called
Ah,
her Untitled Princess Caroline Project.
oh my goodness. That could be a Wi-Fi password.
Oh, it's like that random name you call a file that you don't have time to save and you'll be like, I'll get back to this later and just save it. So it's just
Exactly. Exactly. Todd is crazy. Todd is crazy for that, actually.
another honorary side character for Princess Caroline is Vanessa Gecko, who I must remind you, I must tell all of you, she's not a gecko. The key thing to note about side supporting character is that even though they are not part of the primary characters, which are the main characters and the main supporting characters, they are characters with recurring appearances who contribute to the overall story narrative, and they make up the secondary group of characters in a story. So, with that, we wrap up the penultimate subtopic on character classification based on hierarchy. Next, we will now talk about tertiary characters and finally, background characters. Let's get into it. So, do you remember in our second episode where we talked about character design and creating memorable characters?
Yes, I do, but the person listening probably doesn't remember. So, hey, you listening, yeah? We love go back, we listen to episode 2 and then come back here. Mwah. Yeah.
Yeah, please seriously go and listen to other episodes that we recorded because that's the only way you would understand the entire series and get the most out of it. That episode, we talked about characters and why we find them unforgettable from our own personal experience. And we also talked about what impacts these characters had on us. So here's the thing about unforgettable characters. They don't always have to be main characters in a story. I'm just telling you guys that now. They don't even have to be the main supporting characters. They don't even have to be side supporting characters. Your character can be unforgettable even as a background character. And I'm going to tell you guys what I mean by that. Once you give your character a basic memorable identity and or they fulfill a pivotal role or provide a unique addition, even your tertiary level or background level characters can easily become powerful tools in storytelling that provide a wonderful dynamic to your story. Do you know which character I'm thinking of right now, Rita? I'm going to tell you. Do you know which character?
No, I don't know. I don't.
I'm thinking of
Ah, I'm gonna keep
I'm
quiet.
thinking of I'm thinking of Cabbage Man from Avatar The Last Airbender. You remember how every
Yes.
single time, not my cabbages!
Courageous.
Literally a background character.
Yeah.
He's a basic background character, but he was just like such a recurring gag. Like he was just giving this perspective of a common man in Avatar The Last Airbender world. And this kind of like is something we don't get to see everybody because every time, because like the characters we know so far so good are like benders and powerful people and blah blah blah. But then there's this guy with his cabbages and he's just always screaming. So he was somehow there during the first introduction of the first Earth Kingdom, Mashu, and he was there when the last Earth Kingdom fell to the Fire Nation. And surprise, he made it to the final saga. He survived the war. At the end of the war, he was there celebrating with his cabbages.
A cockroach. A
And
cockroach.
get this, when Korra came out, the legend of Korra came out, guess what? They turned him into this massive corporate that he was even rivaling an automobile conglomerate. Like
Uh,
his cabbages had gone global.
like cabbages versus cars. So we're talking about right now. I mean, we all know who we choose, right? We're not choosing the cars, right? We're choosing cabbages, right? I don't know.
Of course. I mean, we gotta be healthy.
Cabbages. Exactly. Now who can help?
Like
Exactly.
cars. I would
Cars.
drive my cabbages to work. What the heck?
Drive my cabbages to work. Yes, invest in those cabbages. Yes.
Like the persistency and determination is really admirable on this point. Like, Cabbages man, he's such a memorable background character in the story. But you know which other background character deserves an accolade for the award of the most important background character in fiction story?
No.
You know that guy that asked Gold Roger before he was about to die, where he left the One Piece?
Oh, I don't even remember his face, but I do remember him
I
asking him.
Nobody remembers it. Even me, I don't remember his face. That guy, no, none of us will be aware of it. Though. Him himself, he doesn't even know.
He doesn't even know.
But that one simple question that he asked, that single act, is the reason why we are going through this 1,000 plus episode journey.
And why
Or
nobody
nobody
remembers
even
his face? Yeah,
Nobody remembers, but everybody remembers that there was a guy who screamed and asked that question. We know
yeah.
that he asked a very important question. So he literally could have been anyone. It was a massive crowd of people gathered to watch the execution of a pirate king, you know? And then there was this background character, and he incited the break of the great pirate era by asking that one question. So, are there any other tertiary or background character in any show or book that you have read or experienced that you think they have such profound role for something they did?
Oh my god, I don't have an example.
Okay. This is to say that just because a character is a tertiary or background level character doesn't mean that they can't have significance. A good storyteller knows how to pull from the quiver full of background and tertiary characters to make it happen. This was brilliantly achieved in BoJack Horseman. So let's consider how tertiary characters and background characters are used in storytelling, and then we will see how they were used in BoJack Horseman. Let's consider the definition of these two character hierarchies and understand how it's used. So there are characters that appear once or twice or a few number of very countable times, usually across an entire storyline. The only reason they aren't classified as background characters is because they are usually given basic identities and we usually play a memorable, pivotal role. This is for tertiary characters. By definition, tertiary characters are very minor characters in a story who appear in a single scene or for a very brief period to serve a specific purpose, such as advancing the plot, providing context, or adding depth and realism to the fictional world. They are not central to the storyline, and readers learn little or nothing about their personal lives. In some literature materials I read for this episode research, I saw that some background characters are considered a type of flat tertiary characters, while background characters with little or more identity or character details, or maybe having specific roles, are referred to as functional tertiary characters. Some sources simply put background characters on their own level, which is what I'm doing for this series, because I find it easier to just separate background character from tertiary character, because then I can properly explain to you the difference. In BoJack Horseman, characters like Neil McBeal, which probably most people don't remember, but he's from episode 2 of season 1 titled BoJack Hates the Troop, is a perfect example. He shows up in that one episode and he played the role of this aggravating entitled Navy SEAL who got on BoJack's nerves. And we, the audience, get to discover who BoJack is and how he reacts in various situations. So this is why someone like Neil McBeal, we get his name, he plays a role, he helps instigate the main character in a way, but then he just shows up in that one episode and then never again. That's an example of a tertiary character. The whale reporter, Tom Jumbo Grumbo, this whale that's always on the screen, is like, have you no shame, Bojack? Have you no shame? That guy. Or he's like, Randy, you did this nonsense, Randy. He's that character. He's another example of a tertiary character since he has no personal connection with any of the primary or secondary characters that we know of. But we get a name. He's also a little bit recurring. He's playing a role also, but it's a very, very minor role, right? Any other character could have played that role. There's also this other character called Angela Diaz, who's a production exec of Horsing Around, who basically got Bojack to cower in fear for losing his position as a star of the show. And because of that, instead of taking his friend's side, Herb Kazaz, he kind of betrayed his friend because of this lady who kind of bluffed her way out of things and intimidated Bojack more or less. She's also a tertiary character. She shows up just 1 or 2 episodes, I think. She plays a major role and then we never see her again. There's also Holyoke's 8 gay dads in a polyamorous relationship. To mention, we see them once, a few times, we never see them again. They play their role. There's also Jorge Chavez, which is Todd's stepdad. We see him a few episodes, we never see him again. So yeah, I won't keep the list going, but I'm sure everyone in the audience kind of gets the idea of what tertiary characters is at this point. Now, are there any tertiary characters for BoJack Horseman that you can remember, Rita?
I just realized after my mind came to Judah because
Mm,
that Princess Caroline's assistant, right? I love that guy. I don't know.
I love him.
Yeah, but I guess he's not a tertiary character because he didn't just appear.
Definitely. Yeah, he's the one who married. He's the one that married Princess Caroline in the end. So he's definitely not like
But isn't he like a secondary
yeah,
m-
yeah. He's a side supporting
side
character.
supporting character? Yes, to Princess
Yes,
Caroline. Does
yeah.
that mean that he's also a tertiary character?
He's not a tertiary character because Judah is somebody that we get a lot of screen time from
Yeah,
in regards to his relationship. He's somebody that would have been a main supporting character for
character.
Princess Caroline, even though he's
Exactly.
not a main supporting character for Bojack.
Exactly.
And so by that, that makes him a side supporting
Supporting
character.
character. Yeah. So
Exactly.
that was supposed to be like that's what I thought of at first. But now that you've given
Mhm.
an explanation, I'm gonna cancel that answer, you guys. I
Mhm.
cannot remember any guy that just came for one episode and then left.
No, just
Oh,
like a
wait.
few.
Oh my god, I remember. Oh my god.
Who,
The
who?
Bojack's neighbor. I think she was a I think she was a co-star at one point. I'm not sure. You remember when he was throwing stuff or who was throwing stuff off his balcony?
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. When he threw his mom's doll teddy
Doll,
bear and suddenly looked at him. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah.
She's a
Oh yes.
tertiary a person on the level work. Ah, she's a tertiary character.
He's a
Yes.
tertiary character.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she shows up
I've
in an
forgotten her name. I
episode
don't know
and
her name.
yeah, but I know the character you're talking about, yes. She was actually voiced by a real celebrity
Mm.
who kind of played herself in the show. Like the name was
Mm.
after a real actress. Now to the final category of characters and the last one, background characters. Who are background characters? They are basically flat, non-detailed, almost zero identity character who almost never interact with the main characters in the show and do so on a very superficial level if they ever do. They exist to populate space, to add context to scenery, and they are just literally out doing what they are called background. They are in the background. Sometimes we don't get their names. But if I describe a few of the background characters in BoJack Horseman, I think maybe some people would know who I'm talking about. For example, there is that jogging baboon, the jogger who gave Bojack that very wonderful piece of life advice in the beginning of
Yeah.
season 2,
Yeah, I
episode 1,
remember.
Brand New
Yeah.
Planet. He gave this quote which circulated so well amongst fans that it became the reason even that background character actually struck a chord with the audience and was memorable to fans. The advice was it gets easier. Every day it gets easier, but you gotta do it every day. That's the hard part. But it does get easier. Remember that episode? And you just kind of remember the baboon for saying that, even though
Yeah.
he's literally just a background character and we don't even have a name for him.
Yeah.
One thing BoJack Horseman does, even with its background characters, is that they use background characters to fulfill random animal gags in a way that the joke that is being told becomes like the memory of that background character. Like the cow in the diner that is serving milk, cheese, and meats. And you think about,
The elephant in the
yeah,
room.
the elephant in the room, Becky the chicken escaping a chicken animal farm. So these are background characters. You don't actually remember them, but you probably remember the joke, and that makes you remember them in a way. So the show even took it a step further by popularizing the world with several tertiary and background level characters that are celebrities in real world. We get real life cameos and references often voiced by celebrities themselves like Mila Kunis, Gloria Steinem, Jennifer Aniston, Daniel Radcliffe, JD Salinger. Even JD Salinger had like a whole thing happening with him where he was actually the producer. You know that game show that Mr. Peanut Butter was hosting?
Hosting. Yeah.
Hollywood celebrities. What do they know? Do they know things?
Let's
Let's
find
find
out.
out.
Oh my god, Mr. Peanut Butter.
You know?
Yeah.
So in addition, the show introduced other kind of characters who are mimicking real life characters. They're like spoofs for real life character. Like this other character that they call George Clunas, but the George is spelled with like a Jurj. George Clooney, which is like real life reference for George Clooney,
I'm sorry, what?
or Cindy Crawfish,
Cindy Clawfish.
but it's referencing the model Cindy Crawford. These are kind of examples of making spin-off references of real life celebrities. And it kind of makes some of the background characters even memorable. So I don't know, are there any other background characters that you can remember for BoJack Horseman that stuck with you?
Um, I'm thinking. I don't think I have any other like background character in mind that I can remember. Mm.
Mm. I think writers can be really creative about how they use background characters because, in fact, background characters can be used to introduce gags, they can bring comedic relief, they can provide directions to the main characters, they can spark revolution in the story. They can just be part of a large army that run into battle and die for a king or a nation or a cause, just to show how important the king or the nation or the cause is. But here's the thing. The sad part about background character is that they just kind of exist just to die. Their whole life is reduced to that moment of death where they play an easily replaceable role in someone else's story, where they aren't even given a name for an identity. It's like so sad.
It is. It's very sad.
I will leave our audience with this word of advice from yours truly. I'm going to leave you guys with this advice. Think about this very well. Before you fight another man's battle or take a stand in someone else's war, ask yourself this: how much do I really know about this man and his wars? How much does this man really know about me and my own personal battles? If your answers to both questions don't balance each other, maybe it's time to step back and reevaluate what you're fighting for. Otherwise, you risk becoming just another number of statistics of history with your life reduced to a nameless figure who fought in a war that actually mattered more than your own life, and you will soon be forgotten by the next generation. That's my advice to my audience as we wrap up today's episode. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Rita, do you want to add anything before we sign off?
Use main character energy in moderation. Yeah, that's literally the only thing I have to say. Like, touch grass, feel the breeze, love yourself first.
That's a good
Mm,
one.
Yeah, I don't know. Good. Have a good evening, a good night, and or a good afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. Yeah.
Right. Hey pages! So we've descended the full length of the character hierarchy from the towering presence of the main character to the more nondescript but indispensable figures in the background. This has been an eye-opening start for our final chapter. If there's one takeaway from today, it's this. When a storyteller writes with intentionality, no character is just an extra. Whether they are there to provide a comedic beat, serve as a thematic lens, or pivot the entire plot, every character has the potential to be a shining asset. We've seen it time and again in the rich symbolic world of BoJack Horseman, where even the smallest roles are granted their moment in the spotlight. But hierarchy is only one way to look at a cast. Our next order of business forces us to consider the heartbeat behind the richness of characters in a story. Characterization by level of development. In our next episode, we'll be revisiting and encapsulating on how characters evolve or maybe don't. It's a perfect moment to reflect on what we've learned before we move toward our third category, characterization by role. Well, this is where things get tricky. It's the area most often confused with hierarchy. We'll be breaking down the protagonist, the antagonist, the sidekick, and more. And as I promised in this episode, we are finally going to show you how a protagonist can be cleverly and sometimes drastically different from a main character. If you've learned something new today, we'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts and comments are the fuel that powers the show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with every one of our latest content. As always, we look forward to seeing you on the next page. Bye, pages.
Bye.